When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode.
Now, I'm wondering, the audience is probably wondering, well, are we going to go into a recession if the wrong guy gets elected, or does that really matter? Do the treasurers and the feds really control the money by setting the interest rates? What does that look to you? I mean, what's your explanation to the audience that are like, well, does it depend on who gets in the presidency if we go into a recession or not? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay.
I think that, I think that if there was a change in parties, right, and say we had a Republican president,
okay,
I definitely think they would start to immediately, drop the interest rates and try to bring back the economy. I think they would have a different perspective. I mean, they're trying to slow down inflation by increasing interest rates. And
what do you think about all that? Is that effective?
Well, it hasn't been.
Okay.
Right. We've raised the interest rates. It's increased our capital labor costs. But, but it hasn't warded off the inflation, right? Because they keep reporting the inflation going up. I think we got to do the opposite. We got to go back to lower interest rates for the small business owners,
right?
So that they can, get back to not accumulating debt and, building up some cash.
Well, small businesses are the thing that makes America thrive, right? That's 90% of the revenue maker in the United States of America.
Yeah, and it makes it awfully tough when their interest rates are going up on their loans. That's hurting their cash flow, massive inflation, high fuel costs, high supply costs. It's even hard right now for some of them to get, employment. So it's a tough situation for them to navigate.
So your advice is everybody should start putting cash away right now as we go into the presidential election to see what happens.
I think definitely. I think it's critical.
Okay. Because I have people say, hey, you buy real estate, you get the VA. I'm like, I think I'm going to sit tight because the interest rates are way too, 7% on the prime or whatever. And then, if it goes up to 10, 12, it's like, why would you want to take a HELOC out of your house when it's 12% to invest in something else? It's like, I don't know if that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it gets a lot riskier as those rates get higher.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So, Julio, tell us, what was it like to be the son of a veteran?
Well,
was he tough?
I mean, I think tough was an understatement.
My dad's a Navy vet. I remember he yelling at me in the morning, wake up, and like, holy, what am I, boot camp or something? I'm only in high school.
It felt like boot camp, right? The bed had to be made perfect. The sheets had to be shined. But, what a great experience,
Yeah.
To grow up, in a family with a dad that, and a mom that, invested in us and helped us become who we are. And,
right.
It's wonderful. And listen, my dad came to this country when he was 18, and the military was his opportunity to, do something here in the country. And, getting the GI Bill with the Marines was critical to that. And look, I can tell you this, even, as, even though my mom, passed away a while ago, that GI Bill paid for her health all the way through the end. And
wow,
I'm grateful. And, my dad still, gets a pension and, and so it's great. And listen, all the people that I grew up with, not only my dad, but everyone else on that base.
Wow, that's crazy.
Still considered good friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's so much, that generation had a different mindset in business too. Those guys were mentally tough. They just had a different mindset and just their work ethic and everything.
Yeah, it was, I wish everyone could get experience growing up, with those families. I mean, it was really, wonderful to be around that and be inspired to do more. Come to this country. My dad at 18, get the opportunity to be in the Marines and all the benefits that came with that, and share those benefits with us so that we could, get a piece of the pie here in this country. I mean, you can't do that in any other country.
No, exactly. And that's why so many people from foreign countries come to the country, because of the opportunity. That's why you have so many foreigners, investing cash in the country. They know that the return is worth the investment. That's why you have all the Chinese coming over here, buying up property all over California. They see the benefit of that investment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right about that. We're very fortunate to be in this country. And yeah, I'm very fortunate to have grown up in a military family.
So, Julio, I got to ask you, what is a day in life? I hear you don't sleep much. You work like a madman because you're so passionate about taxes. What is a day like? You're all over the country, you've seen your clients and stuff, and doing meetings and board meetings. What does that look like? What does a day look like for you?
I equate it to every morning waking up, opening up that puzzle box, dumping out all the pieces, and starting over every morning. But listen, it's a real honor to have, hundreds of employees nationwide that are really my little entrepreneurs. And, I get the honor of serving them every day and, investing in them, investing in their families. And, they get the reward of helping veterans and small business owners save money every day. And so it's truly an honor.
So you have like a team of 100 contractors, employees that work for all your 10 different companies that you own. That's wild. That's a lot of people you're leading.
I think we're over 150 employees.
Wow. Holy smokes.
But it started with one, right?
It started with one.
And it's just been, 20 plus years of, slow growth.
What is your leadership style with your teams?
It's definitely evolved and changed. So, growing up in the military and then, working in Fortune 500 in the 80s, it was very, it was very military like.
Okay.
Up or out, hardworking. Well, that didn't change for me, but I think we're devoted today to a culture that is really all caring for our employees and dedicated to their happiness and making sure that we're serving them well. Servant leaders.
Servant leader. Okay. I like that.
And so, it's, coming up from a military background.
Sure.
And having to evolve from that and understand that, in this generation, being a servant leader is probably, a better approach. And especially with the younger kids that we have today. It's changed, and I've had to change with it.
Wow. That's powerful. You just said that you had to change with it. It forces you to grow the bigger your organization becomes. Do you find yourself in board meetings being 90% listening and 10% talking, or what does that formula for success look for you?
Yeah, it's at least 90% listening.
Dang. Yeah. Wow.
There's no doubt about it. Listening to them, understanding their concerns, and just trying to help them and understand them. And, it's tough. I mean, listen, a lot of people talk by phone, but now they could be sitting right next to each other and texting each other, right?
Like, I'm sitting right next to you. Why don't you put your phone? Let's have a conversation face to face.
There was not a moment I had to look my dad in the eye every time we had a conversation, right?
And then they got today. Yeah. What'd you think about the Zoom? The Zoom world we were in for a little while, right? And now everybody wants to do face-to-face meetings. Do you think that people at corporations realized, well, we can save money and costs by everybody just Zoom meeting, but you learn that you lose that personal touch when you're not in person and meeting and creating that trust factor? Are you seeing a change from your bigger, clients that you guys service on how they want to conduct business now?
Well, I know this. I have 100 plus employees that will never go back to an office again.
Really?
So, do they want that human interaction? Do they want to get together? Yeah, and we work hard to do that regionally and get people together. I think they still want to do that. Our clients still want to visit with us.
Yeah.
But will we ever go back to an office? I don't think so. And will we do more Zoom and less meetings? I think so. I just think that we've changed, and that was a big change for us. But we realized that they're happy working from home. They're as productive working at home.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be in traffic for 3 hours a day.
Brutal. That's brutal. Well, here's a thought you just brought up for me was, what's going on with commercial real estate? I think it looks like it's going to collapse in the next year or so because all of those empty spaces in the Bay Area, San Jose, everybody's working remotely. They don't need to come to work. And what's your forecast for commercial and how will it affect the banking sector?
Yeah, so what is happening? Let's talk about San Jose since you brought San Jose.
Yeah.
Right? So you have some of the high rises there, San Francisco, and they're converting, right? So these high rise offices are now converting to 50% condo, right? So, like say you had 10 stories of offices. Now it's, half of that is condos, half of it is shared workspace, maybe some retail, some coffee shops. And that evolution seems to be working. So
interesting.
We're seeing that go into New York. So yeah, they've had to pivot and make it more of a work-live building. Where people want to live there. Maybe they want to go upstairs and have open workspace. Maybe they want to go to the top and have a coffee. But they're converting quickly. We'll see. I mean, I was very concerned, even maybe 6 months ago, but I've seen some of these conversions go off very successfully in San Francisco, San Jose, New York. And so we'll see how that all plays out. It may never come back to what it once was.
Sure.
At least there's, the ability to pivot and, like we won't go back to shopping malls, but did they all, become distribution centers? So.
Yeah, shopping malls just took a major hit, didn't they, with Amazon and that growth and explosion?
Yeah.
Changed the way we consume material and goods.
Really did.
And then, it's funny to me, Jamie Dimon said, hey, we're going back to work and you guys are coming back to the office of the bank because we are not going to lose to our competition. What's your thoughts on that kind of leadership, what he decided to do there?
Yeah, Jamie Dimon lives here in Palm Beach. And
okay.
Yeah. I think there's a community of business owners. Look, we work with a lot of accounting firms that feel that their employees have to be in an office and, and that's the best place for them to train and, and grow up and learn. And, certainly we can't zoom in if we're the military, right? We got to be on base and we got to go out and be
right
with our team. So I think with certain industries, I understand it. I mean, fortunate for us, that, we're able to bring people on and educate them through Zoom. And, and we seem to get the feedback from at least our employees that they like that culture. They don't want to go back to a different culture. And I think, for some people, they're not going to want to go back to Jamie Dimon's office, but, they'll probably look at I think, what we've seen is that employees will trade, somewhat of their wages for more freedom. And
wow, is that the new generation type of culture that we were seeing there?
100%. 100%.
Wow.
We're seeing it for the first time.
So their priorities and their standard of life is that they're so huge on work-life balance. It's crazy. It's just crazy how the difference from our generation is from their generation. It's just night and day difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. And we're just, adapting to all that.
And I know a lot of my friends are telling their kids, hey, don't waste your time going to college. There's not a piece of paper for what? $100,000 in debt for a piece of paper that says you went to school. And so now I've seen a trend where a lot of these kids, they're like, why go to college? Why be in debt? And so it's like, what do you see the future in the work labor force? Since a lot of these kids and friends of mine that own businesses, they're telling their kids, don't even bother going to school. Work in your business with me. So do you see a shift there?
I do, because, when I went to college, it was $1,000 a semester, and
wow, that's cheap.
I worked at McDonald's, but, it allowed me to pay for school and,
sure.
But, these kids now, why? I don't understand. Listen, I really feel like you want to pay off the debt, start charging the universities tax because
oh, nice. That's a great idea.
They're nonprofits, but they're making a ton of money.
Yes, they are.
Incredible money. And they're charging massive rates to go to school and have these kids accumulate the debt and be behind from the beginning. I don't think it's worth the investment. I think that cost has to come down.
And here's another fact too, that, some of these universities have $1 billion in endowments. Billions.
Yeah,
it's like,
why aren't they just paying for the kids to go to school?
Yeah, it doesn't make no sense to me. So it's like a big profit center, nonprofit.
Or if you're not going to, use that endowment for the kids to go to school, then pay taxes.
And here's a question that I don't know about. Do universities pay taxes or are they exempt from paying taxes? I don't know.
No, they don't pay taxes.
Wow.
So I think we can start just taxing them and pay off this debt.
Holy smokes. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a wild thought process right there. I thought they paid taxes.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be popular to universities. But they're like ATM machines. They should pay taxes.
Oh, geez. So now I see the frustration of the young people. It's like the young people are pretty smart these days. They're very smart folks. They understand technology. And do you guys offer like internship programs if they don't have a college degree and like on the job training type of thing? Is that kind of the future of labor and business?
I think so. Yeah, we do all that.
Okay.
And I think that's really just important today.
Yeah, because their desire for work is so different. They'd rather be up in Oregon working remotely, and they say, "Well, I get more done. I want that life work balance." That's the big demand. In my generation, like, take a vacation for 2 weeks, get back to work. They quit.
It's interesting though. I mean, what I've realized is that, if you're a hard worker at the office, you're going to be a hard worker at home.
Wow.
They have the discipline. They're wired that way. They're wired to work hard, and it doesn't matter where you put them. I mean, I think they're just good people that are dedicated, and so I mean that's what we notice. The good workers, they're going to be good workers wherever they're located.
That's a good example there. So, yeah, Julio, do you have any words of wisdom for business owners going into, first of the year, like tips, advice, suggestions for the vets or just business owners? And you think we're going to keep on thriving as a country? What's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I'm an optimist.
Are you?
And I do think that, we have cycles. We have high tax rates, lower tax rates, high interest rates, lower interest rates. But we always come through, and we always emerge, and we always come back to a position of leadership in this world. So, I think that will continue. I think we're, we have that democracy to be leaders in this world.
Here's the thing that came to my mind just now. I heard those foreign countries don't allow you to set up business accounts unless you have like $10,000 in an account to start a business, like in Europe. Is that true? How America is different from other countries?
Yeah, it's more challenging. Certainly more regulations across the globe. We're fortunate not to have those kind of regulations. Certainly we don't want to be over-regulated.
Right.
And that's what democracy is about. Is giving everyone a fair chance. So you're right about that. We're fortunate to have that opportunity here.
This just struck me in the head. I was watching a documentary on oil and gas. And what is your thoughts on oil and gas being one of our biggest, strongest GDPs in America? Do you think that's true or inaccurate, or technology better than gas and oil?
I think oil and gas is very important. I wish we would, get back to producing more, because we wouldn't have these, inflation if we were not dependent on others. And I think we send a message too to other countries that, have the oil, that one day we're not going to be your customer because we're just going to get away from all that. But that's not the reality. And so I just think it could be better thought out.
What is the reality?
I think the reality is that, it's just it's going to take decades to get the infrastructure to have green cars. And, it's going to take a lot of capital for people to invest in green cars. And, I don't think we had to transition hardcore overnight. I mean, I remember when I talked to Dr. Ben Carson about this, and he said, like anything we do, we should just phase over time and just do it within our means and not create massive amounts of debts and inflation to accelerate something that's going to take time.
It's almost like they're trying to rush to get the green. I mean, if you want an electric car, you want an electric car, but we should be allowed to have the freedom of choice being Americans. And it's almost like the government is trying to force us to buy different products now. It's like, what happened to freedom of choice and freedom of consumption?
Yeah, and in California, they're losing that choice, right? So,
they just passed a bill for non-electric cars, 2043 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's hard to believe, but, ultimately, you don't have to accelerate it. Just let it get there over time. Otherwise,
let it evolve.
Accumulate way too much debt to support a industry that's not ready.
Right. Now, are you guys getting sick and tired of all the Californians moving into Florida now? I'm hearing that's what's happening yet. Fort Lauderdale has become like the new Los Angeles on the East Coast. It's just crazy over there from what I'm hearing.
Well, we've been fortunate. I mean, the neighbors that have moved in from California in our neighborhood are just wonderful and great patriots. And there's a reason they came here.
Tax benefits.
So
what is the tax law? Zero taxes, zero income tax on corporate tax out there? Is that kind of what's going on?
Yeah. Listen, the one thing I tell people, you want to lower your taxes, move. There's 43 states that charge income taxes, and there's 7 that don't. And, you can, and now look, we see some states up to 15-20% state tax.
Crazy.
So, that one of the best ways I think to avoid it is
just move.
To move.
So you have to move your residency to whatever state. So I might be leaving the West Coast here soon with my business and Level Security Group. I'm like, my tax bill is going to be really high next year.
Well, it's just hard when, the government is taking 20% of every dollar you make. How do you grow?
Exactly.
When you're giving them, 20% dividend.
Exactly.
That makes it awfully tough.
It does. Hey, folks, if you're tuning in, this is Julio Gonzalez. He's the CEO of Engineer Tax Service and 10 other companies. And he's been featured on Forbes magazine and been on many TV shows. And he's sought after by NFL athletes to, major Fortune 500 companies to do their taxes. And I wanted to have Julio on to just share his passion on helping vets, being the son of a Marine Corps veteran himself. And he's just passionate about helping vets out. And if you're just tuning in, go to the beginning of this podcast, just find out just little tricks, little secrets that he knows about. If you're a veteran, of how to save money. And we just did this podcast and, just to basically thank the veterans for being veterans and starting businesses and just the tricks and secrets on how to run a successful company and not get taxed to death. And Julio is definitely the expert in this industry, and he's on LinkedIn. Is there LinkedIn pretty much your main website for your portfolio and all that, where people can find you to follow you?
Yeah, definitely.
And I just want to thank Julio for his time. He runs 10 companies, and he's here with us for an hour just to share with the veterans and fellow business owners how to thrive in this crazy interest rate economy we're in. It's just we got a presidential election cycle coming up, and I know Julio's a big player in the business world. And any parting words, Julio, for the audience before we wrap this up for you?
Yeah, I listen for the audience. Again, we're here as a resource to all veterans. I'm happy to talk to them 24/7. I know you guys go through a lot, and my restitution to all of you is to be helpful to you in grants, tax incentives, things that I can do to help you preserve your wealth. And we don't have to be your accountant. We can work with your accountant to help with that advice and just be a resource. Like we said, Mark, it takes a community to lift us all up, and we're part of that team in your community to help with that.
And folks, what Julio does, correct me if I'm incorrect, but you consult with accounting firms throughout the country on how to save their clients money. Is pretty much what you guys are like, the expert advisors out there.
That's right. Yeah. We typically work with accountants, but listen, any veteran can come directly to me and I'll give them advice that they can share with their accountant.
Perfect. There you go, folks. So yeah, if you want to follow Julio, just look on LinkedIn. I'm going to be tagging this on my LinkedIn, and I don't think you're not on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, are you? I can't remember if you are or not.
We do post on Instagram as well. I'm there at Tax Reform Expert.
Okay.
And I do daily tax tips on, even veterans. We did a couple of veteran posts over the last month about different tax benefits. So we just try to give helpful tips every day.
Perfect. So yeah, please tune in, follow Julio and his team on LinkedIn, and then I'll be working with Julio's team to post this podcast on their platform too, to get the word out and just help each other out, Americans, and help out the vets and business owners so we can thrive in this crazy economy we're in right now. And like Julio said, it'll change. It comes and goes with different administrations, and it'll get better. And I love how Julio's optimistic and his outlook on the future of America and the future of business. And he loves the stuff, and this is up Julio's alley. So Julio, just want to thank you for your time, and thanks for being here. And I know you're busy and time is limited, and I appreciate you big time for helping us out.
Well, and honor.
And if you haven't followed us, we'll also post this on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. And if you could give us a 5-star rating or give comments on YouTube as well, let us know what you think on this, and we'd love to hear from you. Well, thanks for tuning in, folks, and thanks for your time, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fearless Mindset Podcast.